Hi, everybody. I am Patty Dorito. I am the owner and founder of Holistic Healing Atlanta. I have an exciting program for you today. Is your food poisoning you? Reading labels. Because what I've found is that oftentimes people tell me they're eating healthy, but when you start looking at labels, there's all sorts of additives in there. Um, there's been an increase of cancer, obesity, diabetes, heart disease. And so, like, what is all that? Why is that? So, a lot of it, I believe, it's more complicated than just what we're eating, but a lot of it has to do with the food additives. So, the more that we can eat clean and look at the ingredients, and you can make a choice to say, you know what, I really love my ice cream and I'm choosing to eat this instead of just eating this stuff and not even knowing what's in it. So, um, even with this coronavirus, people say, this healthy person got sick. Our bodies are made to fight and defend off of viruses and stuff. And so we have to keep our gut as healthy as possible, because when we're eating inflammatory things or chemicals, it puts it opens up the tight junctures in our gut, and then bacteria, viruses, all sorts of things, toxins can get in through our gut into our blood system and go into our brain or whatever. So I have a slideshow for you because my husband and I went grocery shopping, and anyway, so I just thought we would just start there. So I already talked about why should you read the food labels, because you'd be shocked of some of the stuff that's being put in it. Okay, Adriana, am I supposed to slide these things on for? Because I am not able to do that. How do I do that, Adriana? Adriana is my producer. Sorry for the technical difficulty.
That's okay. You're just gonna have to use your mouse and click on the next slide.
I can't do it. It's not.
It's not allowing you to?
Mm-mm.
When are you on the slide show itself, or are you on the StreamYard screen?
I believe I'm on the slideshow. That's what I'm seeing is my slideshow. It says stop sharing.
Hard.
Let me see if I can share screen here.
Well, this is what happens when you go live.
No.
Process. Okay, let's try this again.
Can
you try and change it now?
So can you see my slides now? Okay, so
that's you.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
So you can just scroll down. There you are in the second one.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, bye.
Sorry about that. So anyway, part of what I'm go after is our nutrition can help prevent 5 leading causes of death. So it's cardiovascular, cancer, diabetes, obesity, and osteoporosis. And so here are some considerations, and I just sort of wonder, like, what happened in the 70s that obesity has tripled in the number of cases? How about diabetes? In the 60 years, why has it gone from 1.6 million to 23.5 million? Is there a correlation between the food we're eating and these huge numbers? Some of the things that are kind of interesting is that some of the food additives started in the 70s. One of them is glyphosate. That's what makes Roundup. That was put on the market in 1974. High fructose corn syrup was also brought into the market in the 70s. Now, again, I'm not going to say it's the cause of all of it, but it definitely makes a difference. There's a correlation. Okay, here's another thing. 200 years ago, the average person consumed about 7 pounds of sugar a year. Today, it's about 150 pounds of sugar. So if you think sugar comes in 5-pound bags, you do the math, and that's 30 bags of sugar just that we are consuming every year. And then I just thought it was really pretty interesting. I have a slide that shows you all the different names for sugar, which I'll get to, which is kind of important. But 50% of the sugar we consume is high fructose corn syrup. And what is it? Well, it's the cheapest form of sweetening something. It's also used from genetically modified corn. And that's sort of another talk about why we don't really want to have genetically modified foods. And they're saying this high fructose corn syrup can again cause obesity, diabetes, heart problems, arthritis, insulin. Okay, here's 75 different names for sugar. So, you might want to take a little snapshot of that, or you can Google that. And like when you start reading labels to say, wow, I didn't know that was what I was eating. Okay. So so my husband and I went to the grocery store. We had a lot of fun. So here's the first one. This is Aunt Jemima syrup. This is not maple syrup. So look at the first ingredients. It's corn syrup. And then the second one is high fructose corn sugar. Okay. Oh, and there's one more thing here. There's a chemical in there. If we go back, sodium benzoate. Okay. It's a preservative. And it is a known carcinogenic and may cause damage to our DNA. So, like you can have pure maple syrup, or you can have this stuff that's full of high fructose corn syrup. Okay, breakfast cereals. Here we go. So, look at all these ingredients, and you're like, well, is it all that bad? Whole grain oats, sugar, cornstarch, modified corn syrup. But then we go down and it has, I'm not going to read everything. It has red dye number 40. So get this, all modern food dyes are derived from petroleum. And, do you want to be eating petroleum? What does that do? Now, the government says we can have a limited amount, but we just keep on adding these chemicals, and I just sort of wonder what's doing. So it is banned in some of the European countries. Here we have honey bunches of oats. Again, like in this one, I would just say the number of added sugar is 8 grams. Okay. So then we say, well, how about these Kind bars? They're supposed to be good for you, right? But there's nothing really too bad in there except the amount of sugar that people are consuming. 10 grams of sugar. Okay, so now we go to like dinner stuff. So these Hot Pockets, and maybe it's a quick thing, especially in this time of being stressed or whatever. We have these Hot Pockets, but there's a bunch of things in here that I don't really want to be eating. But the one that I picked out is sodium nitrate, and they add this to processed meat to stop bacterial growth, and it's linked to cancer in humans. Again, you got to say, well, do I want the bacteria or this? But there's other ways to deal with it that are safer than putting sodium nitrate. Here's lean cuisine. There's lots of things in this lean cuisine. Some of it's okay, but what I picked out is the carrageenan. So carrageenan is a thicker and a stabilizing agent, and guar gum is one of them. There's a bunch of them, but there are a lot of people. I've had clients who are very sensitive to the carrageenan. Okay, rice-a-roni. People, it's pretty yummy and stuff, but I think this is kind of interesting that they have wheat in rice-a-roni, and I don't eat wheat because I have a gluten sensitivity. It'll give me a migraine if I eat this stuff. But it has monosodium glutamate, which is the MSG. So a lot of people are very sensitive to that, and they get headaches. But the studies say it can cause nerve damage, heart problems, and seizures. Okay, so now we go to like salad dressings. Okay, everybody's, salad's good for people, right? But then we put the salad dressing on. This is a light version, but look at this third ingredients and the fourth ingredients and the fifth ingredients on this. Sugar, corn syrup, and then soybean oil. So I just want to talk a little bit about the soybean oil. So it's a refined vegetable oil, and they include soybeans, corn oil, safflower, and canola peanut oil. The problem with it is that those oils have a high omega-6 fat content, and we really want more omega-3 in our diet. So the omega-6 can cause inflammation, heart disease, cancer. So then you say, well, what do I eat on my salad? So here's something that I use in my family, this Primal Kitchen. So it's got some pretty good stuff in there. So I just, there are alternatives to then eating different kinds of things. Here we have ranch. Everybody likes ranch. But the problem with this one is if you look at it down a little bit further, I mean, it has a lot of kind of odd things in there, but it has artificial flavors. So what are artificial flavors? So it's chemicals that mimic a natural flavor, and they're made in a lab. So for some people, it can be very allergic reactions to it and food sensitivities. It can make people who are asthmatic worse, and then people sometimes might feel abdominal pain, diarrhea, and vomiting. So again, it's just knowing what you are sensitive to. Okay, so here we have good old Campbell's tomato soup. What I thought was really interesting, not only do they have the high fructose corn syrup, they have wheat in my tomato, so I don't eat that stuff. But this one just has a lot of sugar. So it has high fructose corn syrup. If you look over there, it's got 12 grams of sugar in that. So by the way, 4.2 grams equals 1 teaspoon. So if you do kind of the general math, that's 3 teaspoons of sugar put into a serving size of a half cup. Okay, Hunt's tomato ketchup. So you just read the ingredients is there. And what do we got? Oops, sorry about that. Oh, there we are. Okay. Nothing too bad, except it's got that high fructose corn syrup. There are ketchups that don't have that stuff. Next one. So Prego. Prego, if you look at that has some sugar added to it. And for me, I'm careful about sugar because I'm pretty reactive to sugar. Here's Barilla. That's a pretty good brand. But again, it's got a lot of sugar. It's got a total of, it adds 2 grams of sugar per serving. So this next one here, this Clase Reserva, has no sugar added in there. So this is just really your tomatoes. So you want to get what's real. So now we're going to move into beverages a little bit. So Cran Raspberry, it's 100% vitamin C. It makes it look healthy. 100% profits go to the farmer. But when you look at it, look how much added sugar is in there. 28 grams of added sugar, and that's just per serving. So, again, what are we feeding our children or even ourselves? Okay, now we get really good. We have Pepsi. So we won't even go there. 41 grams in one serving of that. And then it's got the high fructose corn syrup. But then we have another problem too. It's got caramel coloring. And so it's typically found in soft drinks and some other things. But it can be made, that caramel, with ammonia. And so it can cause cancer. And the food companies aren't even required to disclose if what the caramel coloring they put in, they're not even, they don't have to disclose that, which I think there's a problem with. So let me just go a little bit. So here's Powerade. And, a lot of times when kids are sick or an athlete, they go to Powerade or Gatorade. They're all about the same. And so water is the first ingredient. And then we have that high fructose corn syrup. And, when people are sick, the last thing they need is sugar. People think, well, I need a little sugar because I'm not eating and stuff like that. People need electrolytes, not sugar, because that can also be inflammatory in to a person. But in here, it's got number one, blue number one. So that chemical that they add in there can damage chromosomes and lead to cancer. So, somebody asked me here is what's a good amount of sugar per serving that we should look for for a drink. And I'm going to say 0, or very little. Because even drinking fruit juice, your body still knows it's sugar. It doesn't know it's fructose or sugar. It still processes it like that. Okay. So here is this is in the natural food section, this Odwalla citrus matcha drink. And it's just juices and it's got a few other things in there. But look at the total number of sugars that are in there. And if I drank that, I'd be like laying flat on the ground, just sick to my stomach. So yeah. So this is actually what I drink. Was what I like, Spindrift. It's sparkling water. And they actually have, it says 6% real juice in there. I like this flavor, but no sugars are added. So there is a little bit of sugar because they're using, in this case, raspberry and lime. So there's a little bit of sugar in there. So it's the real thing. LaCroix water, what they use here isn't real fruit in there, but they're using the essence, which is just like essential oil kind of thing. That's what they're using. Okay. So next thing is fruit snacks. Now this looks really good. Again, it's a family farmer owned and it's made with real fruit and it's an excellent source of vitamin A, C, E, no preservative. It is gluten free. But if you look down at the ingredients, it's got corn syrup, it's got sugar, it's got modified corn starch. And it also has some coloring in there. And the one that it's not circled here, but it's annatto. And it's a food coloring that for some children can cause hyperactivity and cause asthma. Okay, so then we get to Clif Bars. And I don't really have any particular problem with this. But except if you look at how many sugars are added, it's 20 grams of added sugar. So that's a lot. You might as well eat a Snickers bar. I think you'd probably get about the same kind of thing. Enjoyment and calories and things like that. Okay. So I just saw these little bites and this one's actually okay. Again, you just have to look at all the different ingredients. It's got a lot of sugar in it. Okay. Then we have goldfish. And again, this goldfish isn't the worst thing in the world. It's not necessarily a good thing. It has that canola and sunflower and or soybeans. So, that can affect the cholesterol levels in somebody, which I will get to in a slide or two away. So then we have Skippy, reduced fat Skippy peanut butter. So it's got peanuts, then it's got corn syrup, solids, sugar pea protein, salt. It's got the hydrogenated vegetable oil. So I'm like, well, what is hydrogenated vegetable oil? So there you go. Its hydrogen has been added to the oils to make them more solid or spreadable. And they're trans fats. And so these trans fats have been shown to harm heart health. So it increases the bad cholesterol while increasing the bad cholesterol while decreasing the good cholesterol. And both are at risk for a heart disease. And I have a typo there. Okay, this is the peanut butter that I eat. So what is in it? Peanuts. That's it. Just peanuts. Okay, wheat thins. So, you look at this, there's, all these different things. It's got a lot of sugar in it. So the sugar, the hidden sugars besides the sugar is that malt syrup from corn and barley. It's got refiner's sugar. Okay. Okay, so here's a story about these Mary crackers. They're not really that tasty, and so you might try them. My son's dog was visiting, and the dog got into the trash, and there was some stale Mary crackers in the trash can. But the dog got into everything and ate everything that was edible, but she left those crackers on the floor. So take that with a grain of salt. If the dog doesn't want this stuff, do you want to eat this stuff? Actually, I don't mind them. But this brand, Simple Mills, is what I like. They have a lot of different things, and I'll show you a couple different things that they have. So it's a cracker, and here are the ingredients. There's no preservatives in here except for this rosemary extract, a little bit for freshness, but the rest of it's just simple ingredients. Okay, and here's another brand. You have to look at it because I'm not sure I love all the ingredients on this one either. It's got corn syrup and palm oil, which aren't necessarily really great, but you got to look at the labels and see what you're getting. Okay, here's two brands of popcorn. This first one is the Boom Chicka Pop. And so the ingredients here, the popcorn and sunflower oil. And the second one is the popcorn butter. And all the way to the right are all the ingredients is on there. It's like a big difference. Like, why is all that stuff added in there for just plain old popcorn? Okay. Next, so Betty Crocker. So here we have all these different things. And of course, a cake has to have some sugar in it, but it also has propylene glycol in it. So that is kind of scary because propyl glycol is also antifreeze. And so they use it to thicken dairy products and salad dressings. And it's generally deemed safe by the FDA. But do you want to have antifreeze in your food? And what is that doing for us? Again, one piece of cake with this isn't going to kill anybody, but you just keep on adding all these chemicals and it's going to start, we're going to start breaking down. So this is the cake recipe, the cake box. If I'm going to make it, it's a Simple Mills, which I like it. And it's just almond flour, coconut sugar, arrowroot, coconut flour, baking soda, salt, and vanilla bean. So it's pretty easy, and it's actually pretty tasty because when people come to visit and I make this, they have no idea that they're not having Betty Crocker. Okay. So ice cream is a favorite in my house, and I just thought this pretty interesting. Now, my dear husband loves green mint chocolate chip ice cream. And so we had bought this, and I started looking at it. I'm like, oh my goodness, it's got high fructose corn syrup. Again, I'm not going to tell him he can't eat it, but like look what all the stuff that he's eating in there and stuff. So I just looked at some different brands of ice cream because I don't think that we should not eat yummy food on occasion. It's just like not every day. So that's that one. So here's the Ben & Jerry. They did not have mint chocolate chip ice cream. And so you look at this stuff, and they have guar gum. So some people are very sensitive, and the carrageenan in that. So if that's a problem for you, you would not get this. You could even make your own. You don't have to put any of this stuff in here. Here's Breyer chocolate chip. And, again, they're using a lot, like they're using corn syrup, which is a cheap sweetener. Again, you just look. Tillamook, I thought that was actually kind of interesting because they have like peanut oil in there, and I'm like, that's just very interesting. So, and down at the bottom, I thought was kind of interesting. It says Tillamook ice cream is made with more cream than is legally required. So if you buy that brand, you're getting more cream than is legally required. The last ice cream is, I think this is a Publix brand, and it's Green Wise, which is their more natural line. So it's mint chocolate chip ice cream. And if you look at the stuff here, all the ingredients is, it's pretty good. I don't have, it does have the guar gum for someone who's sensitive to that, but when you consider all of it, it's actually pretty good. So the point of this talk is really know what you're putting into your body. And if you clean up your diet and look at this, start reading those ingredients, and then want to try to have the cleanest diet, and that means like making your food, as much as you can. You can make ice cream, you can make your own popcorn, so you know what you're putting into it. And I think it's pretty interesting that the Environmental Working Group has a phone app that you can take to the store with you. And here's a picture of what it actually looks like. So you can scan the barcode on the different products, and they will give you a score, and they'll tell you what is good and what's not so good. They'll list all the ingredients and tell you. So even if you don't really know where you're going, download this free app. And I love that too. Just as an aside, the other thing that the environmental, well, they do a lot of things, but every year they put out a list of the Dirty Dozen list, and it's the most 12 chemically treated vegetables and fruits. And it changes a little bit. So typically spinach, apples, white potatoes, kale, peaches, I think grapes are in there, are very treated with chemicals. And so for me, and they have a list that goes all the way from the worst all the way to things like, sweet potatoes are okay to eat non-organic, but things like pineapple don't need to be organic. So spend the money here if it's like, and buy organic if you can. And then other stuff you don't have to spend the money for. But again, when you're putting those chemicals into your body that being sprayed onto your food, it makes a difference. So I don't know if anybody has any questions. Next week, I am going to talk about trauma. But I do have a question. It says like, well, how can we know if we're consuming too many chemicals? Okay. Well, one of the things is like, if your body is functioning as it's supposed to be. So I do a protocol called holistic methylation, and it supports the genes that aren't working like they're supposed to. Then you're going to be able to detox like you're supposed to. Your body's able to renew the DNA, and it's able to fight off infections that come into your body because your body is made to heal and it's doing what it's supposed to do. Trying to figure out if you're eating too much chemicals. One of the things I would say is to try eating a clean diet. Okay, try going organic. Just try it for a week or two and see how you are feeling. You might do an elimination diet, like particularly children are a little bit more, some children are more sensitive to the chemicals. So if it's, the food dyes, try buying food that they're going to enjoy without the food coloring. Why does Lucky Charms have to put, cute little colored marshmallows in there when they could just put them plain? Well, they do it because it's more appealing to us. Okay. As far as organic brands and things, there's a lot of different things. It's really hard to actually pinpoint what it is. I'm just going to say, I want you to read the labels and see what's on there. Because I think besides for being organic, you have to see what chemicals are being added into the food as a preservative or as food coloring or some of the other things that we went through. So if anybody has any questions, you can write them in your little chat thing. You can also get a hold of me. It's been fun talking to you. I help people when they're like completely lost and they don't even know where to begin. We can do Zoom calls if you don't feel comfortable coming in, but I coach people and try to get them to say what it is they're eating and reading those labels and what is it doing to them. So anyway, so here's a question. What are some of the behaviors on children? So you're going to notice with some children, they're going to be more hyperactive. They might become more irritable. They might be more aggressive. They might be more lethargic. Each kid is very, very different. And so, when I hear about a child who's being quote unquote bad, I want to know what they're eating. And like, when did their behavior kind of get bad? Was it because it was right after lunch? Well, what did they have for lunch? What did they have for breakfast? Because sometimes it doesn't have an immediate effect. Sometimes it can be downstream a little bit, but it's important for that. So there's another question. How do we test to see if the chemicals that are causing the problem? I don't know that there is a test per se, but it's really an elimination. So start documenting what you're eating, you read your labels, and then start eliminating and see if some of the behaviors are diminishing or not. If there's heavy metals in a child's body, that I can test. There's different ways that you can do that by also going on a holistic methylation protocol. Absolutely, that can help somebody, because your body will start being able to function as it is. But our bodies aren't really made to like take on all these chemicals and more chemicals and more chemicals. And it's interesting because a lot of these chemicals are banned in other countries, but the US has allowed them to continue. So I don't know, but yeah. So any other questions we might have? So next week, I am going to talk about what trauma does to the body, how it's stored, and I look forward to seeing you next week. And thanks for listening in. If you feel like anybody might want to listen to this, please share it and like my Facebook page, Holistic Healing Atlanta. Thanks.